Good morning. Today we are going to talk about a new unit, and this is going to deal with the basics of ecology. And as it is a longer unit, we are going to subdivide it into many different parts, and this is part number 1. By definition, ecology is the branch of biology that deals with the relationships of organisms to one another and their physical surroundings. What does it mean? It means that in our study here, we are going to study interactions or relationships between living organisms themselves. 1. Then 2, we will study the relationships or interactions between living organisms and their physical environment. Let us now begin with interactions or relationships between living organisms, and remember that here we deal with all possible kingdoms such as Monera, Protista, Planta, Animalia, and the fungi. So no living organism, no kingdom is left aside. Living organisms can be grouped or classified in 3 main levels according to their feeding relationships. And there we have consumers, decomposers, and the treaters. Consumers are classified into feeding levels according to the type of organism they feed on. If they feed on green plants, they are primary consumers or herbivores. If they feed on herbivores, they are secondary consumers or carnivores. If they feed on carnivores, they are tertiary consumers or top carnivores. Then we have decomposers. Decomposers, which are mainly bacteria and fungi. These assume decomposition or breakdown of organic dead matter. They use their enzymes that they secrete into their outer environment in order to break down large molecules of cadavers of animals and then plants into small molecules that can be absorbed easily. That is in extracellular digestion. We have also detritivores like millipedes, nematode worms, wood lice, etc. that cause mechanical breakdown of organic food into small fragments, therefore providing large surface area for decomposers. In feeding relationships, we have 2 ways whereby food is availed in the nature. We have food chains or trophic chains and food webs or trophic webs. Remember, the term trophic comes from trophein, that's a Greek, meaning food. So food chain, trophic chain, food web, trophic web. Here, there we deal with the synonyms. Now, a food chain is the simplest way of showing feeding relationships. Here we are provided with an example where one organism is eaten by another one living organism exactly in a way of forming a chain. Then what we call a food web is normally a set of many food chains which are tangled, as we are going to be provided with an example here below. And then different stages in a food chain will be referred to as trophic levels. That to say, producers will make the first level, the first trophic level. Primary consumers will make the second trophic level. Secondary consumers will make up the third trophic level, and tertiary consumers will make the fourth trophic level. Let us now talk about the predator-prey relationships. Predation is a situation where an animal captures, kills, and feeds on another of different species. The species which captures, kills, and feeds on another is called a predator. The animal which is fed on is called a prey. So if we take an example of the cat and mouse, the cat is a predator and the mouse is a prey, and I should here remind you also that the term species is always with an S at the end. We never say a species. A species means something else. Say one species, two or more species. Never one species when we deal with living organisms. Let us now talk about some adaptations of predators for predation. The first one is the presence of sharp, pointed and strong teeth to remove flesh or meat from bones. A high speed to run after an escaping prey. The production of poisonous fluid or venom to paralyze the prey, and here you remember the presence of poisonous fangs in snakes, for instance. The presence of sharp and curved claws for capturing and holding their prey. This presence of claws is particularly known in carnivorous animals such as the felidae, let's say animals in the family of cat, from the term felis meaning a cat, that's Latin. It is this characteristic is also present in the birds, the carnivorous birds like hawks, vultures, etc. A very high developed sense of smell to allocate the prey. Sharp and curved carnassial teeth for grasping and tearing the flesh or meat into small pieces. Acute vision to locate the prey. The color camouflage. The camouflage, that is the ability of an animal to change its color in order to resemble the outer environment. This is a strategy used in order to hide and catch easily the prey. Hunting in groups to enable them kill large and powerful prey. Here you think about lions. Lions often hunt in groups, wolves too. It is another example. Develop the skills of mimicry. What is a mimicry? A mimicry is a way an animal takes the shape of another animal or takes the shape of a thing in order to confound the prey. For example, in some circumstances, a lion imitates a herbivorous animal. It moves in a way that it can be confounded easily to any herbivorous animal in order to approach an animal that it wants to catch. Let us now talk about some adaptations of the prey to escape predators. One, they have a faster speed. They run very fast in order to escape their predators. They present protective structures like spikes, horns, and scales. they produce a very big number of young to ensure the survival of their species, because the young ones are most likely to be captured by the predators because they are weak, they cannot run so fast. So by compensation, their number should be also extremely high. Some will be eaten, others will survive in order to sustain the species. Staying in groups to confuse their predators. By staying in groups, they appear larger and bigger. In this way, the predators are intimidated. Well-developed sense of smell to help them detect and escape predators. So the prey organisms should develop a sense of smell in order to detect the presence of their predators from so far away. The color camouflage. Some prey organisms should also be able to change their color in order to fuse with the outer environment in order to hide easily from their predator. Mimicry. It is the case where a prey adopts a behavior of another dangerous animal to show to the predator that it is dangerous in order to avoid being eaten. The large physical size that scares away predators. Okay, these are some examples of adaptations, and the list is not exhaustive. We just here present the principal ones. Now let us talk about fluctuations of predator-prey relationships. Generally, the population of a predator and prey fluctuates, and the peaks of the prey comes first before those of predators. As the population of the prey increases, that of the predators also increases to a peak due to abundance of food. That to say, the prey population is going to grow, and let's say to grow in a number, and the population of the predator is going also to increase because there is much food. The increase of predator population prevents further increase of the prey, since many of the prey are eaten. Consequently, the predator population then drops as food becomes less. That to say, once the prey population increases, the predator population increases too, and the consequence will be that many prey organisms will be eaten because the predator population is very high too, and consequently they will both decline at the same time. At any time, the number of predators is lower than that of prey. So to assume the equilibrium of both predator and prey populations, the number of predators should be lower than that of the prey. If not, all prey organisms could be consumed up and predators to disappear by after. In most predators, such fluctuations are reduced in nature. Many predators have adapted to many types of prey to ensure their own survival, and therefore are able to switch from one prey to another. This means that in cases where a type of predator relies on one source of food, let's say one type of prey, that predator is likely to disappear once the prey disappears too. So to have alternatives gives security to the predator in terms of survival. Because if one prey is not available, another one will be relied upon in order to survive. Interspecific versus intraspecific competitions. The competition occurs where more than two organisms need the same vital resources that are in short supply. The vital resource could be food, shelter, water, light, nesting sites and birds, mates, and many others. Now, there are two types of competitions, let's say intraspecific if we deal with organisms of the same species. For example, cocks fighting over a group of hens. And interspecific competition where members of different species are competing about available resources such as food and space. And here we give an example of a sheep and a goat competing for grass.